Good news can often get overlooked or buried by the negative in our everyday lives. So let's change that. I'm Adrianna.
And I'm Wyatt.
We're just two ordinary people without any special qualifications or anything, trying to navigate life. We invite you to join us as we share wholesome stories, news articles of hope, and ideas about how we can all make the world just a little bit brighter. We are uplifting positive stories. Welcome back to another episode of Uplifting Positive Stories. Thanks for joining us.
Ready to rectify some wrongs, get some justice.
What?
I don't know.
That's awesome.
That was an excuse to be Batman for half a second.
Yes, that is true.
I'm not wearing hockey pants.
Oh gosh.
Anyways, that's for our DC listeners out there, you know, that enjoy Batman references.
I see. Well, today is all about rectifying bad situations. So I see
justice
there. So today, we have all sorts of interesting stories today, and so we're just gonna roll right into them. Here we go. Today's first story comes from Casual Conversations, and it is titled, "My dad was sad after losing his old little plush monkey, so I pretended it went on a world trip." Here we go. Last month, my dad lost the little plush monkey he had had on his dashboard for 25 years. When I was 4, my mom took me and my little brother on a week-long trip to my grandma, while my dad stayed at home. I vividly remember how we wanted to bring him a souvenir and got him this little plush monkey as a gift. Remember Beanie Babies? My dad loved it, and ever since it had sat on his dashboard. Sweetheart, that's what he named it, was with us on every car ride since 1997. Last month, it was suddenly gone. It must have fallen out of the car unnoticed. My dad told me he drove back to every parking lot that he'd been to that day, his workspace, the hardware store, gas station, supermarket, but could not find it.
This sounds like Toy Story 3 with Lotso hugging Bear.
Right, exactly.
Is it turned into a villain by the end?
Oh no. I was so touched when I heard about that a week ago. It might seem like a silly thing to mourn, banal, when you think about the real horrors of the world. But I think most of us know how stupidly nostalgic we can get over stuffed toys. And after having it with him for a quarter of a century, my dad seemed genuinely sad over the loss of it. My dad and I have a strong bond. We share the same kind of humor and both love to make small surprises to the people we love. I did a quick Google search and found the exact monkey half an hour after he told me. But just replacing it did not feel right. It would look like his old friend, but it would lack the soul of it. I wanted him to have a story. So I bought a tiny little straw hat and I decorated it with feathers. I crafted small necklaces with seashells and turquoise stones. I painted a map and tied it to Sweetheart's right hand and packed a bag of sweets for him to hold in his left. Then I printed a few tiny photographs of the 7 world wonders, folded an envelope and wrote a letter saying something like, "Dear blank, sorry I did not say goodbye. After all these years, I just needed some time to see the world all by myself."
So he ran away? That's the story? To see the world? He didn't just get lost, he ran away? Uno reverse card. This is a bad thing. Just kidding. No, this is funny. I'm liking it.
It was an incredible experience, but I realized traveling without you is much less exciting than I thought. So now I'm back and so looking forward for new adventures with my best friend. This whole project made me so happy. Me being able to get my dad his stuffed animal back made me feel like somehow closing a circle, switching roles in a parent-kid relationship or something. Yesterday, I visited my dad and hid the little globetrotter in his living room. I was so excited, haha. Just after I left, I got a voice message of him crying. It was easily the most heartwarming message I've ever received. The way he sounded, he was close to tears when he thanked me for the surprise. He seriously couldn't believe it. It was so wholesome. I just can't help but smile brightly every time I think about it, and I re-listened to the voice message a few times because I don't think I've ever found my dad this cute. I'm so thankful for him. I wanted to share this with you because it was such a beautiful experience for me, a small little gesture turning into one of my favorite memories of the year. Have you shared moments like this with your parents? Since English isn't my first language, I often struggle to post on Reddit because it takes me so long to translate my thoughts, but I really want to practice my writing, so please tell me about any mistakes I made in this post. Edit. Since a lot of you asked, here is a picture without the letter and photos. Unfortunately, I forgot to take a picture in the end. Yeah, so. Super, super, super
That's
sweet.
cute.
Yeah. And what a great way to make that bad situation not so bad. And it turned into a new memory of his kid getting him another one with this really elaborate story and going to all this effort to make him the little hat and the stuff. Like, I'm sure this is another awesome memory that he'll look fondly on instead of thinking about the sad situation of losing it.
Yeah. Well, it was a gift to him originally, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think it was ever actually about the item itself.
course,
it's just about the gesture
sentiment
of the
attached
gift,
to it.
you know?
Yeah, exactly. That can happen. I know an example of this. I don't know how much of an impact it was, but my dad had this mug he really liked. And while he was gone on a work trip, something had knocked it over in the garage. And it because he used to use his mugs out there. And it broke on the floor of the garage. And so me being a kid, I didn't know better. And so he was on the work trip, and then when he called to check in on us, I was like, your mug broke. I'm so sorry and stuff. And he sounded really devastated on the phone. I think I was like maybe 11 at that point. This mug was unsalvageable. But I felt bad that he was sad about it. And so I went and spent my day trying to super glue all the pieces of this mug together.
So you said it's unsalvageable, and so you try to salvage it.
I mean, now I know it was unsalvageable. At that point, I was like, if I super glue all these pieces together, it'll be like good as new. It was the most complicated jigsaw puzzle I've ever done in my life. And I spent hours trying to super glue this thing. I mean, super gluing a clay mug, you're not going to be able to drink out of it ever again. But my dad was so touched when he came back that took so much time. I mean, again, I was like 11. So I spent my day, instead of playing outside with my friends, super gluing this mug. And so he had that mug and he hung on to it, and he seemed super touched that I spent the time trying to fix it, even if he couldn't use it again. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes like you said, it's not really about the fact that they lost that item. It's a sentiment attached to it. So if you can find a way to try to make the situation better by making a new memory, or just showing that you care in some way and making a new memory in that sense, sometimes that can make a bad situation into a positive one. Mm-hmm. When it seems like there's no chance of us finding this thing again or fixing this thing, you can make it better in a different way. So yeah, I thought that was a good example of that.
Mm-hmm. And it's not that they have a sweet relationship.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It was just a really cute father-daughter, father-son, I'm not really sure, relationship. Very, very sweet.
I hope we can have that with our kids someday.
Hopefully. All right, on to our next story. So this one comes from Best of Positive Updates, and it was originally posted on relationships. Here we go. This one, I feel like a lot of people might be able to relate to this one a little bit. My 30 male dog, 1 male, ate all of my girlfriend 25F's shoes. Happens.
Sure.
Puppies get into stuff and ruin things, so some people might be able to relate to that.
Not our dogs. Our dogs are good with that.
Now, I mean, they destroyed some stuff when they were puppies.
I mean, not shoes, though.
Thankfully, not shoes.
It was just like anything wood.
Yeah, we used to call our dogs little beavers because we'd find them chewing on the trim in our house, on the bottoms of our tables. Like, it was
including the one I have here.
Yeah,
can't see it on camera,
destroyed.
But it's got some. People
are like, "What happened to that?" And we're like, "Our beaver dogs when they were puppies, they were relentless." Anyways, so yeah, going on to the story. Here we go. My girlfriend just moved in with me a couple of weeks ago. My dog is pretty well trained, but shoes are his weakness. I have tried everything. They're his vice.
Oh, shoe. Another one.
I've tried everything to get him to stop chewing shoes, but ultimately I decided to just not leave shoes laying around anymore and always put them away. Mm-hmm. This worked well when I lived on my own, but the closet at the front isn't big enough for all of my girlfriend's shoes, so they've been sitting in bins since she moved. She's on vacation with her friends right now, and I made her a nice walk-in closet / makeup room off of our bedroom as a surprise, since there wasn't enough closet room in our house for both of our stuff. I brought all of her shoes up yesterday to try and figure out the shelving space and forgot to put the lids back on the bins before I left for work.
Oh boy.
I got home this morning to find every single shoe she owns completely destroyed by my dog.
Oh, that's an expensive mistake.
It gets worse.
It gets worse?
In terms of the price. Only a couple shoes look like they could be fixable, but there isn't even one pair that remains wearable. My dog was quite proud of himself.
I'm sure he was wagging his tail, or she was wagging the tail all happy like, look what I did. Look what I did.
I had a great day.
Don't worry, they're not yours.
Oh no. My girlfriend is the type of person who is very methodical with her clothing/shoes. Everything she owns has been carefully selected, brands have been researched thoroughly, and she takes immaculate care of her things. That is to say that they are all pretty expensive, $100 to $500 per pair, and in perfect condition.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just having a visceral reaction to that amount of money destroyed.
It gets worse. There's over 30 pairs of shoes. I have estimated that the cost of replacing the ones I can find new online is $6,000. And that doesn't include some of the brands that I don't recognize and can't find online, or some that are no longer being sold.
To say they're up to $500, if there's 30 of them, that'd be, if on the high end, that'd be like what, 15,000?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? The amount of damage.
No, that's a car.
I'm not really sure where to go from here. I was able to find around 20 pairs of the shoes online in the exact style that she had, and I'm wondering if I should order those now and hope they get here before she gets home.
She'll know. Like, they're not broken in.
Right.
Like,
obviously, there's no hiding this, but I'm wondering if it would make her feel a bit better to at least have some shoes to choose from. I'm pretty sure that if I told her to go spend the amount in damages on new shoes, she wouldn't, because she's saving up to buy a new house, and she'd rather put the money towards that. But I know she would be sad about not having all the choices that she's had before. Any advice?
Well, in that situation, that makes me think that you should tell her first, because you don't want to have bought the shoes and have her be like, well, I would rather put the money towards the house.
Right.
So you can't reverse that then. Well, I guess you can if it's Amazon, I guess, or something like that. But you can't guarantee that. But
yeah.
Oof.
That one hurts. Like we said, life is gonna life sometimes, and sometimes
I wonder how much
happen.
time had passed between, the dog's last incident with the whole hiding of the shoes and stuff, and then this incident. I wonder how much time has passed where, you don't have to think about it.
You get used to it's probably fine. You get kind of lazy again with just not thinking about it, because when your dog has recently done something, it's on the forefront of your mind of, okay, I need to make sure I put this away so they don't get into that or don't mess with this. But if they haven't done it in a while, you might get lazy and forget that that's a thing. Mm-hmm. So mistakes happen, and you would hope that, with the lid, it sounds like the lid wasn't on the bin. So you wouldn't think that your dog
did some
would
work for it.
Get all 30 pairs and destroy all of them in the course of while he was at work or whatever he was doing.
No survivors.
Yeah, but again, sometimes things just happen that are bad.
Tales.
We've talked about in the past episodes about handling mistakes. This kind of goes with that, but it's about how to rectify it when it goes wrong. So here we go.
Yeah.
Here we are. The update. I am getting a surprising number of PMs asking for an update, so here it is. The general consensus for my first post was that I should buy a few key pairs before she gets home, so I decided to go with that.
That's probably a good move, just to have a couple pairs, You've got to have some shoes.
Exactly. It was hard because where we live, we are transitioning from winter to summer, so I had to buy winter boots, rain boots, sandals, runners, and various types of work shoes. Only about half of them arrived before she got home on Friday. I wish I could have bought them in person so I could have been certain they would be here, but I wasn't able to since winter stuff is out of season and a lot of the brands she likes are only available online. Friday, I picked her and her friends up from the airport. When we got a second of alone time, I told her about the shoe situation. She was ticked initially. She wasn't mad at me or our dog, but more mad that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I decided...
Mad the situation.
Right. I decided not to tell her about the awesome closet that I built her while she was gone and just hoped that the surprise would soften the blow.
Well, then I'm curious what he said the reason was for how he got into the bin, because the reason that the bin was... in a position was in the murder zone. What was the explanation for that? Or she just
maybe
not
he just
it?
said she was moving some stuff into the house, reorganize. Who knows?
Maybe.
On the
I'm
car
getting
ride,
lost in the details.
Yeah, but it happens. On the car ride back, she told her friends what happened, and they really helped turn it into a positive event that they could laugh about. She would only get sad when she remembered shoes that she spent a long time breaking in. Apparently, her Birkenstocks took 2 full summers before they reached max comfiness, so that was the one she was the most sad about. I feel really awful about that. I actually took those ones to a cobbler because I knew she would be most upset about them, but they couldn't be salvaged. They were too far gone.
Call it.
When we got home, she wanted to see the carnage. I wasn't sure it was a good idea because I was kind of expecting her to cry, but she just thought it was funny.
Well, yeah, at that point, you gotta what are you gonna do? You gonna cry or you're gonna laugh? Or you're gonna do both.
Right. She had made she had me make a small pine casket for the shoes.
That's
while
awesome.
Her and her friends got absolutely blasted, and we buried them in the backyard that night.
This sounds like
the shoes.
This seems like a Parks and Rec scene or something, you know?
Like watching, they put it on a little lake and like watch it go off in the water.
Bye, little Sebastian.
Like a Viking send off. Oh, so funny. She did cry briefly at the funeral, but she was a trooper nonetheless. Her friends decided it was only fair for me to purchase every pair of shoes she wants for the rest of our lives, and I drunkenly agreed, a decision that I'm sure will cost me a small fortune, but I stand by it all the same. Over the past few days, she has ordered all of the shoes she needed to replace the ones she lost. She only reordered around 10 pairs that she previously owned, so it was a good thing I didn't go ahead and reorder them all. She already had a Pinterest of every pair she wanted and had deemed to be worthy of her collection, which made it a fairly quick process. All in all, it cost around twice what I had anticipated, but she didn't break up with me, so I'll call it a win. I'm just glad I was able to afford it. I couldn't imagine how awful it would be to be in this position without being able to pony up. It's going to set me back a few months on buying an engagement ring, but I'm sure that won't be an issue. For everyone concerned about the dog, she isn't worried about getting him trained more because he behaves perfectly otherwise. She said, if anything, I need to be more trained not to be a careless idiot. Joking aside, it was a fluke, and we're usually very good about keeping the shoes put away. I made the doors for her closet and our front closet self-closing so we don't ever need to worry about leaving them open. Like my girlfriend, the poor guy can't resist shoes, so we don't really blame him for what happened. In fact, we're quite proud of what he managed to accomplish in the 12 hours I was away. TLDR, everything went better than expected, and my girlfriend is cool as a cucumber. So, first of all, kudos to the girlfriend for handling that well, because some people, when they're really upset over something, don't handle it well, and that could have gone way worse. She could have said a lot of things she regretted, and things could have hurt the relationship if she would have reacted out of anger at him and stuff more than she did. He was very apologetic, it sounds like, tried to make it better, tried to handle it as best he could, didn't try to become defensive or about what happened and stuff and make excuses. He just apologized and found a way to make it better by trying to get her the shoes before she got back that he could, and then figuring out how to pay for the ones that she still needed to replace it, and figuring out how to reinstall doors now that hopefully will prevent the dog from getting in there again to do something like that, so making sure it doesn't happen again in the future. And kudos to the friends as well for making it into a funny memory with the little backyard burial of the shoes. Because that was a great way to handle it with a situation that sucks. Because that is a terrible situation to lose that much money in shoes and things that you've worn in and stuff. So to make it into a funny memory for her and him, I think was a great way of handling that.
Yeah, listen, those shoes, that's going to be a financial hit for a bit. And that's going to hurt and that's going to suck. But man, 10 years from now, that memory is going to be priceless.
The backyard. Remember when we buried my shoes in a casket in the backyard? Remember what our dog did in 12 hours?
I almost don't even believe that. This sounds almost made up because that sounds hilarious.
Exactly. So it's a way of, shoes are replaceable. Relationships are not always replaceable. So,
and awesome memories are not replaceable.
Exactly. So handling it as best you can when something bad happens, whether it's a mistake or it's something that was out of your control, handling it as best you can.
It was a little in their control.
No, I'm saying in situations where it's not.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the aftermath, the done is done, you know.
What's done is done. And so by trying to handle it as best we can when something really bad happens, and trying to either, if it's something like this where it's kind of silly, make light of it, or by trying to make it better in some way.
Listen, that price tag wasn't silly.
Yeah.
Their response was silly.
He said it was more than double what they anticipated. So that's like $12,000 in shoes.
Yeah, it's probably... Yeah, probably getting up to $15,000 or something.
Yeah. So, all in all, I thought that was a awesome example of how to rectify that.
You got to think about inflation and stuff too, you know.
Right.
Because those are years old, you know. Who knows how much the prices went up.
Yeah, it's true. Unfortunately. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Another story. This one is TIFU by not realizing how much my stepmom loves me. It was originally posted on TIFU. Today I screwed up, basically. And it has been reposted to Best of Redditor updates. Here we go.
All right.
I am 16 male and my real mother died when I was 7. My dad, 41 male, remarried to my stepmom, Alexis, 43 female, when I was 10. Alexis has always tried her best, but I never appreciated her. I always just wanted my mom back and never even tried to see how much Alexis did for me. She makes my dad extremely happy. Whenever I see him with her, I can tell he's really happy. It made me feel like he didn't truly love my mom. Alexis always tried her hardest for us, always being there to help me with homework, make me feel better, heck, even make me a sandwich when I got hungry. But I never tried to see that she was doing it because she loved me. Yesterday was my birthday and she left me a note in my room. It read how much she loves me and sees her like her own son. It made me cry and realize how much Alexis truly loves me. Now I feel awful and want to apologize to her and make things better. I'm really sorry, Mom. I love you. So the update, 9 hours later, he posted, "So hello again, Redditors. I wanted to first say thank you for all of your support. I was honestly never even expecting my original post to get more than a few responses."
They never do.
They never expect it.
They never do.
And yet it usually happens.
Justice.
For a lot of these posts. "So thank you for all of the advice, and now on to the main story. I got home about an hour ago and Alexis was in the kitchen making supper. I went up and hugged her from behind. She seemed surprised and asked me what was going on. I told her that I was sorry for the way I'd acted for all those years before. I only really managed to get out the I'm sorry part before I became too emotional and started crying. She turned around and hugged me and asked if everything was okay. I couldn't say anything without crying, so I just took out my phone and went to my post and showed her. She read it and was silent before also starting to sob and then just break into an ugly cry. We hugged for about 10 minutes while crying, and she told me she loves me and always will. She then got out some ice cream and we talked about our day. We had a plan to go see a movie this weekend, and so now we're sitting on the couch together typing this. Alexis also wanted to say some things, so she'll be typing here for a second. Hi, everybody. Thank you for helping my stepson. It really means a lot that all of you poured out so much sympathy and personal stories. I hope every one of you have a great day. Anyways, it's me again. I hope you all have a great day, and once again, thank you for your support. Me and Alexis are going to watch a movie now and cuddle on the couch. I love my new mom." Yeah. So I thought that was a really sweet.
What's the movie? They left us hanging.
I know. But
how dare.
We love the details.
That could have changed everything.
What?
What if it was like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know?
That
like
would
that
be
would really
actually
change
really
the
funny. Oh my gosh. But it's such a great example of it's never too late to communicate. And if you feel like you haven't handled something well or that you haven't treated someone properly, it's never too late to apologize and to just let them know that you feel that way. And so that was a great example of that. And I just thought it was a really, really sweet story to share. So.
And also an example of a great stepmom, you know, just because, I mean, obviously the kind acts and the showing of love, like that's all well and good. And some of it's like, okay, obviously they should be feeding you a sandwich if you're hungry.
Yeah.
That should be given, you know? But like, after years of not giving it back, it'd be easy to be like, well, I'm not getting anything back, so I'm not giving anything to you.
Right.
You know, so to continue to show that affection, that love.
Despite being met with maybe like a stone wall in terms of that.
Yeah. That's what kind of makes it unconditional.
Exactly. What a good stepmom. And it sounds like they're going to have a really great relationship going forward. So that's really, really awesome. Especially, and it's great. I'm sure she also understands the situation with them missing their mom and stuff.
Sure.
And that's a difficult situation to navigate. So it's awesome that she seems like an understanding stepmom and stuff. So that's really, really sweet. Yeah. All right, on to our news article. This one comes from KOAT.com, and it is titled, "We're Not All Bad People. Inmates Giving Back to Community Charities." Inmates serving their sentences in the New Mexico Corrections Department go and do charities. They try to raise money for charities of their choosing. So they all get to pick different charities and different correction departments. And they've been doing this for a while, it sounds like. So to quote the article, "We're trying to change the perception of people that are coming out of prison going home. We're not all bad people," said Jason Stalter, who is serving his sentence at the penitentiary of New Mexico in Santa Fe. So he's part of a club, an inmate club. And let's see here. These clubs give inmates a sense of purpose, humility, and redemption while teaching skills to reintegrate into society when they're released. So Antonio Cavazos, who's an inmate at the penitentiary of New Mexico in Santa Fe, he's part of a club called Positive Pups. And they go and they help train shelter dogs so they'll be more adoptable, which is really cool. So that's the one that they picked, was Positive Pups as their charity. And then every year they do fundraisers through stuff like bake sales, craft sales, special events like talent shows or sports tournaments to try to raise money for these different charities, which is really awesome. Yeah, each year the clubs nominate and vote on which causes they want to support. And then the staff members there approve charities based on what is brought to them as the ones they want to do. There's another quote, the article here from the same guy, Stalter. He says, "We've all made mistakes. We're paying for our mistakes, but we also want to pay it forward to show people that we are human. We've made a mistake, and now we want to rejoin our community in a positive way." In 2024, they raised several $1,000s for several charities. So that's awesome.
That's cool.
Close to $10,000 was raised by inmate clubs at the Central New Mexico Correctional Facility. And those went to places like the Ronald McDonald House of New Mexico and the Children's Cancer Fund of New Mexico. In the Northeast New Mexico Correctional Facility, they raised enough money to pay off school lunch debt for local students.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then the last one, the Garden Club at Western New Mexico Correctional Facility grows produce and donates it to a local food bank and women's shelter. So they all have different charities and ways of raising money or trying to show their support for them, which I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What a cool way to, get them involved in the community before they're back out, and to kind of in a positive way that then the community sees them in a positive light. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of stigma against people that have been in correctional facilities when they come out thinking like, oh, they're a criminal, always a criminal. And that's not always the case. Like a lot of people want to be better and don't want to go back into those things that got them in there in the first place. And so by getting them those connections in the community in a positive way and showing that, hey, we're good people, we just made a mistake, it helps to help them on the outside, I'm sure, too, to be able to get jobs and stuff like that because they're seen as a positive member of the community because they're already helping out, which I think is a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it's beneficial for everybody involved. It helps the community. It helps them. It helps, and it makes them feel, I'm sure it helps them to feel more positive about life in general while they're in there, too, because they feel like they're making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
In their community, which is super, super cool.
Well, I know our local ones have, there's like community service aspects out there and stuff. Like I know last year when there was flooding up in Cook, there were some, I can't remember which prison it was from, but they had a group of inmates like come out and kind of help with sandbagging and stuff and help with that effort and stuff.
Yeah, but having them be able to pick what charities they want to support,
that gives them more of an active aspect of it than just like bringing them to where they can volunteer for. I'm not sure how that works exactly, but to have them be a part of that selection process and play a more active role than kind of passively going with it.
Right, and about their passions too. Like they have clubs and stuff in there, so they must have an interest in a certain area. So then picking a charity that aligns with that club's interests. So if they love dogs, like they had here, where they could help with pets that are up for adoption, becoming more adoptable by training them and stuff like that. It's something that they're obviously interested in. So it aligns with their passion on top of being helpful to the community. So it's kind of twofold there. I think that's a really cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
And our last news article for today comes from Fox29.com, and it is titled, "Strangers Rally to Restore Boy's Stolen Comic Books Inherited from His Late Father."
Mm-hmm.
So this little boy's dad died from a heart attack in 2022, and he had a huge comic book collection that their son inherited from him. Their son was 4 years old, named Makari, and had over 400 comic books in this collection.
Whoa.
With stuff from like Spider-Man, Daredevil, the Hulk, and it was all from like the 1940s on. His dad even had a YouTube channel talking about these comic books and stuff. Like they were very important to him. Unfortunately, their house was burgled, and they lost all of the comic books in that robbery. So they reached out to the police. It's still ongoing. They're trying to get him back. But in the meantime, strangers have been sending comic books to this boy to try to help rebuild that collection with ones that they had been robbed. And so they've already had more than 100 books come in from places as far as Hawaii. To quote the article, one man, Philip Rabun, drove from Phoenix to Las Vegas to personally deliver comic books to Makari. Amy said Makari now tells people, "My daddy's comic book collection was stolen, but some nice people are rebuilding my collection." So people they also have a GoFundMe page to try to help get some money to help restore some of those comic books that are still missing. It's really sad that this happened, but it's awesome that people are willing to drive that far just to give them a comic book to replace something in the collection, and people are donating their own comic books. I think that's really, really awesome. So, Justice. How you didn't even know the story was in here, and here we are with stuff.
Yeah, literally. I wonder if
books.
Batman's one of them. DC or Marvel, time. justice.
Exactly. So there we go. It all came full circle. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you'll tune in next week, which is all about persevering through anxieties. We've got some good stories lined up for that, as well as we got some interesting perspectives on dealing through anxiety and tips and stuff from random Redditors that I thought were really profound. So I'm excited to share them. If you have any positive stories that you'd like to share, or you found a hopeful news article that you think is worth spreading to the masses,
or you have your own wrong that you were able to rectify in a positive way,
please send them to us at upliftingpositivestories@gmail.com, or you can post them on our subreddit, which is Uplift Positive Stories. So lots of options to share. And we also have a Facebook and Instagram now. So if you want to check those out, please feel free to join those groups.
And if you're watching or listening on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button and share it around.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we hope you'll tune in next week.
And stay positive.